All right, I'm excited what's going to happen now after that great Leaders Who Care conversation we had, which I thank you for totally, sincerely, and immensely. And, one of the things I found that's super important is we all influence people every day of our lives, whether we know it or not. And we are influenced by people, sometimes in a minute, sometimes a lifetime, and everything in between. And one of the if I can share, one of the biggest influencers for me was like my grandfather, who, as I mentioned, was from Kiev, and he used to take me and my cousin out for walks to the park when we were little in Montreal. And finally, he was talking to everybody. I asked him, we called him Zeta. I said, Zeta, how do you know all these people? And he said, I didn't or don't know any of them, but I smiled at them and they all smiled back at me. And then they started talking to me and we became friends. And it stuck with me incredibly for years about that basic thing. So can you guys share with us maybe 2, 3 influencers that you've had in your life? They could be people alive, dead, you met, you didn't meet, or whatnot. We'll go one at a time. Shauna?
Well, I know I mentioned her in the last interview, but my mom is probably the biggest influencer in my life in terms of how I try to treat people. And because she personifies kindness and empathy on a level that I can't even describe, because she's constantly just giving of herself to people. Even just, a simple example is, our neighbor works at a grocery store, and during the pandemic, people were so horrible to her. And she was telling my mom about this. And my mom just randomly made her cookies and bought her some flowers and wrote her a card about how great she is and just dropped it off. Just little things like that. And and that's just one little example. And I always saw that throughout my whole life, just the way she truly cared about wanting people to feel loved. And I think, and she had so many great ways to express that and some great wisdom around it. And it was just sort of in my face all the time. And so it really, and I look at it now as the thing that I value the most. And so, yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, how many people she influenced was probably incredible. Jennifer?
I know.
Apologies to my mother. She is absolutely lovely. But the first thing that came to mind to me was not a person, but a place. And relevant to the recent times, Easter was this past weekend, which also falls on Passover. And Jerusalem, for those of you who have not been, and if you don't get a chance to go, National Geographic has an incredible story about it, a documentary. The reason why I bring up Jerusalem is simple. It is literally a mecca of something intangible, that thing called faith. People come from all over the world, which is bordered by the most controversy when it comes to people. And yet still, as a human species, we can find a way to align on something that's intangible. I personally find this to be my eternal hope. I had previously stated my hope is for friends of the world, right? If it is as simple as putting up a cross to believe that there's something greater than ourselves, for even the largest enemy to not fight or be at war, how beautiful is the hope for our future? And that, to me, I wish I could bring all 7.5 billion of us to Jerusalem, not for too long, because then I think they'd start to get skeptic, to be clear, but just for that moment, right? That feeling that's indescribable, even if you have no faith at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I second the motion. When I first went there and I got off the plane, and it was like the movie where it goes,
I've heard that over and over again. It's definitely on my top. I have not been there.
we can all go together.
Yes, let's do a pilgrimage.
Awesome.
I love it.
Shauna, I'm not kidding. So Shauna, another one? Can you share?
Well, I'm just going to continue on with the people because I am influenced by places and lots of other things, but certainly I have some great people in my life. And I think probably one of the second greatest influences, just by nature of being so close to me, is my son. And just like being his mother, I think when I watching him grow up and seeing how he understood the world, how he showed up in the world, and how he became the person that he is, that influenced me to like constantly be evaluating, what am I teaching you? What am I what kind of an example am I being? How do I want to how do I want to do what my mom did for me? And so it influenced me in this sort of natural, like, I constantly want to improve. I constantly want to be thinking about these things. And I'm constantly in this like state of like, how can I do better? Why did I screw this up? Or why, how can I, continue doing what I am doing well, like all these things. And I didn't have that same introspection before I was a mother. And I think that really caused me to constantly be in that state. And I like being in that state.
It's the best state. I
Mhm.
agree. Jennifer?
Shauna's going to keep on getting the tips from the moms and the sons. I have two sons that I equally love and am inspired by. What I think about as a person is what's on my feet right now, which are Jordans that were given to me by my sons. Michael Jordan, I'm a born and raised Chicago girl. I had the blessed gift of watching that incredible human being. Now it's normal, right? People talk about Tiger Woods and Ronaldo and all these other folks. And whether it's a social media or just mass media thing where we see these out of body athletes, right? We're all humans. And how did they get that, right? And we got this. Michael Jordan, to me, is still the greatest of all time. And he's overcome so many terrible things. He wasn't really good as a spouse. He kind of was absent as a dad. He didn't make a ton of great business decisions. Many of us know that Nike wasn't the first, right? And yet still, time and time again, he continues to show up. And to me, if I can, Jerusalem is hope and then Jordan's reality, right? Even in our greatest fame, there's still going to be that moment of greed. And what do we do that keeps us well-grounded? Put your Air Jordans on and try to shoot a few hoops, right? In the freezing cold. And if you can't make it, it's okay. Keep dribbling. By the way, below the waist, so you get less steals.
I kind of did that, except I brought my stick and puck out and kept shooting.
DJ LeVar is still a good. There's plenty of those Mario Lemieux.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoever your Jordan is, audience members, it doesn't have to be a
Who is
Chicago
your
Bull
hockey player, Mark?
My favorite hockey player?
Mhm.
Is that what you asked?
Mhm.
I mean, I've had several, but it's probably Jean Beliveau from years back.
Oh my gosh, we were just talking about him yesterday.
And that's because he was the classiest, tremendous playmaker, tremendous leader, tremendous after hockey or off the ice and after he played in the community, giving. I mean, incredible. So yeah, that would probably be my favorite hockey player. But you know what I find super pleasing, for lack of a better word, and impressive is how you guys influence each other. And that's pretty cool.
I was thinking about that. I was like, is that the obvious answer?
Not the obvious answer, because you're always thinking of someone else, but you're a great influence by how you influence each other to make us all better, to see that. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Thanks.
And thanks for participating. You're awesome. You're brilliant.
This is great. Thank you.
By the way, you stole the third answer because I was about to say, how could we be remiss without saying the fifth element? We wouldn't be at this juncture and in this environment and with this hope and fear, right, together.
Mhm.
It's very neat. I don't, Shauna, if you have a third, I will definitely think of one awesome too, but I just had to take a moment. It's like, instead of a moment of silence, it's a moment of recognition for why we're here. It's because of Mark, you and your constituents. So thank you.
Well, that's what family does, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So with that, thanks you guys.
Thank you.